Now, Atmo Biosciences is a clinical stage digital health startup that recently completed the And Health Accelerator program. It's currently involved in 5 pilot clinical trials, and founder Malcolm Hebblewhite joins us in the studio now to tell us more about them. Malcolm, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
So, Malcolm, we'll start with the basics.
Yes.
What is it you do for a living? Tell us about the business.
So I lead Atmo Biosciences, which is this digital stage, early stage digital health company, underpinned by a gas sensing capsule, which is ingestible, you swallow it, and it delivers information about gaseous biomarkers in the gut as it transits through the gut and delivers the information wirelessly to the cloud in real time for aggregation and analysis.
Wow, this sounds like the old Fantastic Journey science fiction thing we used to watch as a kid. So, why are we doing that? Why are we dropping this probe into our stomach to find out what's going on?
Well, we're doing it because the physiology of the gut is largely a black box. And we'd like to open a window and shine a light on what is that black box, because it's going to lead to improved solutions, personalised medicine solutions for gastrointestinal disorders. And that'll result in better gut health. And gastrointestinal disorders are numerous and they're very large problems. And the clinical need to better understand physiology of an individual is a huge unmet need at the moment. And that's why we're tackling this.
And what stage is it at the moment? We mentioned in the introduction that you're doing clinical trials at the moment. How are they going?
They're going extremely well. We've administered the capsule to over 100 subjects in those trials. We've got more trials planned. We've raised some seed funding in order to do that and to take the product development forward. And the results so far are looking really quite promising, but it's early stage. But a lot of interest, suffice to say, with clinicians in particular, and also with corporates. So food technology companies, functional foods companies, applications in clinical trials, for example.
So is it a case of building this and then figuring out the science that will wrap around it? Because it sounds like the first thing is making this safe, and sort of the data will then be interpreted later on as people need it. Is that the idea?
So there's a little bit of that. There are numerous applications for this technology, some of which we're pursuing now. Some of the potential applications we need to understand more about the science, but there are some real near-term applications for which we'll be applying this. For example, things like understanding motility and transit time, the speed of transit through the gut, understanding whether you have something called bacterial overgrowth, which is related to irritable bowel syndrome, for instance. This can detect hydrogen, which is an indicator of that bacterial overgrowth. They're the kinds of things that we know there's a real need for right now. Other future applications are things like applications in inflammatory disease, inflammatory bowel disease and ulcerative colitis, for example. There may well be applications in that, along with things like liver disease.
So when we're talking about the gut, am I right in thinking that the way you retrieve this is you get it back 24 hours later as it's had a thorough check of your entire system?
So one very important practical point, this is a disposable or a consumable, you do not retrieve it.
Oh, okay, okay, just wondering.
It goes down the loo and is dealt with by the sewage system.
Yep.
But
it does go all the way through.
It does go all the way through, and normal, if you like, transit time would be anywhere from 18 to 36 hours. But depending on age, sex, your disease state or gut health, it could be anywhere up to 5 days, and the batteries in this will last that long.
Now, you mentioned that you went through seed funding to help fund the clinical trials, but I imagine development of this technology started a long time before that. Have you been working with the same investment partners along the way, or supporters of this technology?
Yeah, so the technology itself was developed at RMIT University and Alfred Hospital over the course of 10 years. It was then incubated at Planet Innovation in Melbourne, subsequent to us spinning out the technology from the university and raising some seed funding. So we're working with Monash University, with Alfred Health. We've had support from some grants along the way, along with the seed funding that I've raised. So And Health has been very, very helpful in terms of those kinds of programs, along with Johnson & Johnson Quickfire Challenge, and some government funding in the form of NH and MRC grants and an MTP Connect grant recently.
So just before we finish, what's next? The trials are underway, but what's going to happen next with Atmo?
So the aim is to generate data from those trials in order to support a Series A or a pre-IPO round next year, at which time we'll be pursuing an initial indication with a regulatory submission in the US, for example, and CE marking, and the support and the infrastructure that will be put in place to be able to get that regulatory approval.
Well, Max, all the best with Atmo. It kind of sounds like we're now in a new frontier of space. We're talking about space a little later on, but this is such an unknown area of the human body. It sounds like it has some fascinating potential.
It is, and it's a world first, so it's very exciting. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for coming on Startup Daily today to tell us all about it.
Thank you very much, both.